So a podcast comes out every Tuesday. You're sitting here right next to me. It's technically Tuesday when people are listening to this.
Tuesday.
But you're not actually in the country on Tuesday.
Actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure we are technically in the country on Tuesday because our flight doesn't leave until 4 Tuesday. So I'm just not here in DeWitt.
Yeah, you're in the mad rush of what gate are we in? How are we getting there? Do I have to keep holding these bags? All of that fun international travel stuff.
Yeah, but I've got Sue with me, so she's detail. So I'm just gonna be like, Sue, just make sure I don't get this wrong. I'm gonna No, it'll be great. We've got very awesome team that we're going with. We're very excited as a team just to be able to go. It's been fun. We've had a bunch of meetings leading up to this, and it's just been really fun getting to know the team and praying together, laughing together, and being terrified as what does international packing look like together.
Yeah.
No, it'll be
so talk a little bit. I know we've prayed on Sunday about the mission trip and stuff like that. Before we get into your talk, just kind of like what are the things that you guys are actually going to be doing?
Yeah, so once we get there, we'll have like an orientation, different things. We actually get to go into the slums in Nairobi.
Oh wow.
Because they want us to really give us an opportunity to kind of see the lowest lows and the highest highs. And so the end of our trip actually will be a safari that we get to experience.
It's fun.
Which is awesome. But at the same time, it's going to be really able to give us a large scale of the different dynamics of just right there in parts of Kenya.
Yeah.
And so we get to visit one of the oldest, I think is the oldest school that Mohi has. And so we get to visit there, and we'll eventually go into Shumani, where we'll do part medical. Medical team is going to be there doing some screenings. We've got a VBS that we're going to be putting on for the school, which will be really fun. And then last year they did a carnival. We're bringing the carnival back. They asked for it, so lots of different things that we get to experience.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to. I've never done any international mission trips, so
this will be special.
This is new.
Yeah, it'll be unique because when I was there was no Chumani school.
Yeah.
So like the last I saw was an open field, but I've gotten to see like all the other stuff that everybody's got to be a part of. I've actually met Pastor Dan.
Yep.
I just haven't seen the school yet. So
eventually
I'll get to make my way back
beat
down
you
there.
to the school. That seems unfair, but I was watching the podcast with Rick and Pastor Dan. And Rick talked a lot about just like, man, where we are sitting right here, these buildings did not exist. And just getting to hear that story and now I get to go be a part of it is really cool.
So cool. Hey, so we but we continued on with our series here. And for Mother's Day, we decided anxiety was the right topic.
Yep.
That's how we planned that one out, right? And you got to share kind of your story because this is something that, man, it's a part of your life.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't theoretical. This isn't just, hey, I want to go see what Scripture has to say about this topic. This was something lived out that's been a part of you.
Yeah.
And I know Scripture was a huge part of figuring that out. So, I mean, just kind of, what was it like sharing your story a little bit?
Yeah.
I know there was some own anxiety leading up to it.
Yeah, my
right?
goodness. It's a hard thing to be able to share my story with all that has gone on. And there's been so many pieces that have gone into it. So, it's been a few years now that I've actually been able to not be bound by anxiety in some different ways. And amazing to see how it can come up when you try to put your mind back into remembering some of the different things. And so it was a lot of wrestling through how much do I share? Because it's not about me. It's about what Christ has done in my life. And so being able to go and point back to Scripture and understand I think the biggest thing for me through my entire process was the continued layers of understanding just who God is in our life. And that was crucial to understanding how to work out of this. And there were plenty of times where I was understanding who God was and still wasn't working out of it. And that's the hard piece to wrestle is, there's not a straight 2 + 2 = 4 formula.
Sure.
Except the one thing that is a consistent is keep going after Christ. Mm-hmm. And he's willing for us to come to him over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's been, I think, the biggest part of my process, the amount of times that I've been to counseling, the amount of times that people have had to be like, hey, you are screwing this up again. You might want to change some things. And in a loving way that has really helped me become who I am today and be able to not be bound by this thing that so many people are bound by. It doesn't mean that anxiety doesn't still pop up. It's just, it's so different now.
Sure.
And that's, so much of the talk was just centered around understanding just the importance of going to God over and over and over and over again, and that he doesn't shame us for having this.
Right.
He invites us to have him be a part of it in our lives, to work in and through it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit. There was a phrase that you used there that I was like, ooh, I want to chat about that a little bit more. But it was this idea that anxiety can be an addiction.
Yeah.
Like we think of addictions, we think a lot of stuff. But I don't think I've ever heard the phrase of the idea that anxiety itself can be an addiction, that you can be so into your patterns a little bit more. I mean, just chat with that a little bit about why you believe that, why you think that, how you saw that in your life, how God maybe brought you through those pieces as well.
Yeah, I shared a little bit about my story the end of my junior year, where somebody basically told me, you have the choice. You can use anxiety as your crutch the rest of your life, or you can lay it at the cross and recognize that God wants to use you through it. I don't know if I understood that it was an addiction until that pastor spoke and said that phrase, because it got me to thinking like, wow, I really do use this as a crutch. There were things, certain tasks that would come up in ministry or in just life that I would find ways out, because I was like, guys, I can't handle it today. Like I'm so, and it didn't start that way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Nobody enters into addiction being like, today's when I start.
Yeah.
It is very much, like I shared in my story, it was very innocent. And yet I got hooked into this thing. And so with anxiety, you have these different things that happen to you and you feel it in different areas. And I think, some of it I've learned through counseling, that you get to a point your brain just creates these pathways, and there are these regular habits that you can just go to. So when something would happen into my life, I basically had a routine that made like my body would naturally react and respond in a certain way every time something stressful came. Scale of what it looked like may be different. But a lot of times it was whatever stressful thing happened, I was fine.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, things hit. And it was like I had these delayed responses. One of the things I didn't talk about was like you have the earthquake feeling, but you also have the aftershock feeling, where like a lot of my things would show up later. And but I understood the routine. And I got so used to the routine, I could almost manifest the routine. If things weren't quite happening, I could do that. So like I knew that a couple of days after something happened, I could be like, I can't. Because I knew my body was probably going to be physically just, I would have the earthquake feelings or just overwhelmed in my thoughts, or, but just in everyday life, routine becomes something that you can control it.
Yeah.
You understand your routine, you understand your rhythms, and to try to break from that just didn't even make sense to me. It was like, well, how do I even begin to do that?
Yeah.
And so I think the addiction piece was just, it almost felt like it was the one thing I could control. And I was okay with that. I was okay with being able to go to people and talk about my anxiety. I always had something to talk about. I could always bring up, it's in my back pocket, and here's the thing. And, for the longest time, I didn't realize that that's what was happening either. And so when I've started using that phrase, I've talked with this subject with multiple people. It seems like it hits home almost every time I talk about that idea of being addicted to anxiety. There is a part of our society that we want a diagnosis to give us an excuse to live in a certain way. I'm not saying that's always what happens, but I do think there's a part of that where I'm not trying to bring down, ADHD is a real thing, but I also think ADHD might get overdiagnosed sometimes just to give it a label, or, whatever the other things, there's a number of different things that you get this label, and then you try to function within that instead of saying, even if it's a real thing, whatever it might be, instead of saying, God, I've got this thing and it's yours. And when you can give that up and say, I'm going to do amazing things despite whatever it is that I have, if it's anxiety, if it's depression, if it's cancer, if it's whatever the thing is, when you give it up, God will do stuff through you that you never would have imagined, instead of just letting it overtake you and sitting in whatever the thing is. And I used to just sit in my anxiety and would just be overwhelmed by it and flooded by it, as opposed to just giving it to God and being being flooded and overwhelmed by him.
Yeah.
And that was the difference of living in peace and not living in peace.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times the conversation that I've heard around anxiety is just the brain science, the neuroscience behind it, that so many times we get stuck in these ruts of pathways that are like physically our brains will form inside of us as well because we have the same habits. And this is really how habits are formed. Like we know it's the principle of like, hey, if you drive to work and then you get to work and you're like, how did I get here or whatever, right? Because you have almost that muscle memory, but you've also got the neuro pathway that your brain just knows what to do and can put things on autopilot. And sometimes, and this happens, I think, with traumatic responses and anxiety and other things like that, we have these ruts or these pathways that we're so used to, right? And when you talk about anxiety as an addiction, we've done that same path or that same routine again and again and again, that we've worn it down there. And now to break free from that, we have to not only stop that rut, but create new pathways as well. And it's interesting because I think in order to get that accomplished, we can't just do like one thing. We have to take a more holistic approach to it. And so for some, that I think there is a medical component on that. Like, right? And you can diagnose that, you can find that different levels and stuff like that, and you can get medicine, and there's professionals to help with that. And that's a really good thing that we know and can do now. But also things with counseling. And I also think there's the spiritual component, there's a relational component, right, to all of these things that help us break free from those ruts or those pathways that we've worn down for so long and create new pathways. And we have to take a much widespread approach to be able to do that.
And one of the things I didn't talk about from the stage is I've gone all the avenues. Like there's nothing wrong with going to counseling. There's nothing wrong with taking medicine. Like I've been on different medicines that have helped my brain get a kick to be able to think with clarity and different things again. So like I've taken a number of those pieces and used them, and it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you have a lack of faith because you decide to go get counseling, or
I think it takes more faith.
It takes more faith to go. It takes
more strength.
And that's the thing that people battle is they're like, well, I don't want to go talk with somebody. And it's like, no, you need to go talk to, like, we are meant to talk to people. Like we have to have relationship pieces, and some are on a professional level, some are on a friendship level. But the people that we can go to and work through it, I think it takes different types of people for us to, and that's in anything. That's not just anxiety. This is across the board in our lives. We need different people to speak into us in different ways to help us grow. Some people can say some things to me. Janet was one. She could say something really blunt, and I could take it and receive it from her because I knew her heart. Whereas if somebody else said the same exact thing, you've just offended me on a significant level because I don't know you. You've got your fun friends where you can just get away from the seriousness of things and just go relax. We have those different layered relationships. But one of the things that was interesting, one of the counseling sessions that I went through early on in college, the guy gave me basically a sheet of paper that was, here's how like the cycle of your brain works. And it was a really interesting thing within addiction. Now, it didn't talk about anxiety in the sense of anxiety being the addiction. It was talking about my internet addiction. And it realized like, well, anxiety is still a part of that. And so basically he was saying like something really bad happens in your life and you're just having a really bad day. And so your brain needs a pick-me-up. I can't think of this. Endorphins. Thank you. There we go. Clearly I'm not a science guy. But your brain needs endorphins. And so you go and search for that thing. And so it might be a number of different things. Mine was, internet, unfortunately. And so I'd go to that, and then your body has the endorphins, and then it crashes hard. And so then you go into the cycle of really struggling with whatever mental, emotional things that you're dealing with. You're now living in this guilt and shame mindset. And so you need to go search for something. And it's like you have this cycle and it just keeps going around and around. It's the temporary Band-Aid that I talked about, where it's like, I'm not saying that you don't feel good for a little bit if you do this and this and this, but you'll feel worse after. And and we live with some of those temporary band-aids, even like binge watching TV, right? You get the meat sweats, like food is one that we don't talk about a lot, but man, food's a hard one for me in different ways. And it's like, and you can go into these certain worlds and it's more detrimental on the back end of it because nothing sustains the way that Christ does.
Right.
And that's the issue.
Yeah. It was interesting when we went to the Exponential Conference a little over a month ago, and was surprised at the conference that like the subject they were talking about was health.
Yeah.
Was being healthy.
Yeah.
And they talked about this idea of you have to have relational health, you have to have spiritual health, you have to have mental health, and you have to have physical health. And to hear, it was the first time I can remember being at a place where somebody gets up and is speaking to a room full of pastors, but really anywhere, and just says, hey, if you want to go the long haul for what God has called in your life, you have to be physically healthy. You can't be obese on your own terms. Like if you have the ability to make your health, you have the ability to exercise and eat right and do that stuff. And how important that was.
Yeah.
Hey, when there's trauma, or there's stress, or there's anxiety in your mental health, you have to be able to do that. You have to have relational health. You have to have people in your corner that you can talk to, people that can encourage you, people that can help correct you. And you have to have spiritual health. You have to have that time that you are communing with God. You have to have that part.
Yeah.
And that was the whole conference. And it was centered around this idea that God has put a calling in our life, right? And in order to be healthy, in order to accomplish that calling, we have to be healthy. And this is what health looks like in these areas. Man, that was just really convicting and really encouraging at the same time, especially as we were getting ready to move into this series that we've been doing. And we had no idea
seriously,
what it was talking about or what they were going to do. And so I remember just looking at each other and being like, we are going to get so many resources. Right?
So true. I mean, it's a huge thing for us to be healthy, like physically, mentally, spiritually,
and it all plays together.
All of it. Yeah. And if a piece is out of line, then it affects all the other ones.
And it's why things like anxiety, there are physical components to help you create new, what we were talking about, new pathways that are physical things, whether it's running, whether it's exercise, eating right, like all those things come into play.
They do.
With your mental health. They all feed off of one another.
Yeah. And it's a battle. I mean, that's the thing. It's, I don't take the battle with anxiety lightly because that's like, I've been in it for a long time. Yeah. And I get, it feels like I honestly, I just accept it. I'm always going to have this. But as you keep understanding who God, I didn't realize how important being thankful was in the process. Yeah, when I talked to in Philippians 4, it talks about, how we can go to God in all things and thanking him for things. That was a crucial part of my process was being able to find things in my life that I was thankful for, finding things that, I saw in my life that he was doing. And there were so many seasons that were so hard to do that. But when you can find gratitude, and you can go and take all the things to him that you have. And I mean, David did this really well throughout the Psalms. There's a lot of times you see it, it's just like, God, what on earth are you doing? Yeah. But then he would come back and be like, but you are God. Mm-hmm. And that was his gratitude, was you're God and I'm not. Like, but when you are thankful, and you can go to God with that type of approach, that's like the peace that comes from that is amazing. Yeah. Because if we are ungrateful, you're filled with bitterness. Like it's hard to really fully heal because there's bitterness. And I'm not saying that bitterness can't be part of the process. It's going to be. All of us have had things in our lives that we have something that was just like, this was a little too much. And I'm bitter towards this person or bitter about this situation. But we have to let that go, which can take time. Some people can do it faster than others. But when you can let it be and be thankful, like that bitterness starts to dwindle and peace can come. I was talking to somebody after the church service, and just about how anxiety shows up in a variety of ways. For me, it was physical. For others, it was like anger. And like, that's a big one that they struggled with, was the anger side of things. And, for others, it's emotions in different ways. It's maybe it shows up in depression or in sadness, or maybe it is just in being bitter. It has so many avenues to attack us. And the reality is once you start getting a handle on it, he'll find another avenue. Yeah. He'll poke and prod. And it was interesting because the more that I got better at some of these different areas of feeling more confident in who I was and improving in certain areas, anger became the thing that would show up with my kids or in different areas. And it's like, all right, well, what's the next thing? You know, once I get anger under control, what's the next thing going to be? Because Satan won't stop.
Yeah. Yeah. But even if he doesn't stop, the beauty is he's already defeated it.
Absolutely.
Right? So there is freedom in Christ. We can overcome these things, not on our own accord, not on our own power, but with the help of Christ, with putting Jesus first, with allowing his Spirit to move through us, and at times connecting with other people, right? Acknowledging our pain, giving our pain to God, and bringing other people to be a part of that journey is how we get past all that.
It becomes this thing where it seems intimidating.
Yeah.
Like at the battle with him, to where it's like, dude, go away. Like, like just get out of here. And it, you know, and I've got some other parts of my story that are really, really crazy and interesting, but help me come to this realization of just how much more powerful the name of Christ is over Satan. And to the point where I'm like, man, you know, when people talk about demons or different things, I'm like, listen, you know, he's got nothing. Like nothing. Right. You know, church is scary at night, right? If nobody else is in the building, you know, like we all feel like it's like Stranger Things is happening. And I've gotten to the point, I've had people talk to me about that. Like, don't you get, and I'm like, man, there are moments where like you can feel it sometimes, but I'm always just like, man, you've got nothing. Like, what can you bring against me? Like nothing. Yeah. And, yeah.
I love it, man. Hey, dude, I appreciate you being vulnerable. I appreciate you sharing your story. I know it was really encouraging to me. It was really encouraging to a lot of people. And if I can sing your praises a little more, man, that's just good leadership, letting people know.
Appreciate that.
You know, you're in the boat with it and all that. So I would encourage, hey, if you've got some stuff that Trent's story really impacted you, he's a great resource to chat through those things. I know he would love to chat. He's going to be unavailable right now as this podcast is coming out. He's getting ready to get on a plane.
Please not this
But
week.
when he gets back, he would love to buy you coffee and chat more about that. But in the meantime, hey, we'd encourage you guys, if you're not a part of life groups, be a part of life groups. Make sure you got the Northpointe app. You're staying connected with us. We got a few more weeks of this series and then a really cool character study happening over the summer. So we appreciate you guys watching, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And we'll catch you again.
Until next time.